Hi, this is Dr. Toby, your host on Health and Wellness, inviting you to watch our show this week with Kevin Noble. Kevin is all the way from Little Rock, Arkansas. He's a drug rep of 20 years experience. He has an associate's degree in engineering. He went to college at the University of Arkansas for media and ended up with an MBA with a concentration in public health. He wants to educate you on the role that drug representatives play in this great medical cascade that you are so aware of. He's a man of faith. He's a man of family. He's a man of fortune. He's a man who has been married 16 years. He's an elder deacon in his church who leads the media ministry in his church, St. Mark's Baptist Church in Arkansas. You will not want to miss this conversation. He talks openly about marriage, about why he went into the industry that he's in, and how you as an individual can also pursue your dreams. Hear me well. Kevin is a man you want to listen to. Jesus is Lord. Friend in the backyard.
I'm sitting in the chair that he's sitting in.
Hi, this is Dr. Toby, your host on Health and Wellness. Thank you for joining us. I'm so honored and privileged to have a dear friend, a man of multiple parts, a father, a husband, and a man who has helped in many ways in the industry for pharmaceuticals. Mr. Kevin Noble is with us. Kevin is an immigrant from Arkansas, if I may use that word. He's traveled from Arkansas to Louisiana today to do this recording, but he's a man who's gone across the country, went to the University of Arkansas and trained in media, then trained in business as well. Kevin, you're welcome on the show. Thank you so much for having us.
My pleasure.
Thank you for coming all the way here to West Monroe, Louisiana. So in a nutshell, who is Kevin Noble? I mean, you've done a lot of things in your time. You've crossed states. You've changed professions. Who in a nutshell would people describe as Kevin Noble?
Well, I would describe myself as a go-getter, a person who's not afraid to change gears if need be. But really, my biggest thing is I'm loyal to the people that I love and loyal to the profession that I've chosen. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that sometimes loyalty does win out.
Wow. So you came all the way from Little Rock today. You've done a lot of, tell us a bit about your background. Where did you grow up and who did you grow up around? Were you in a small town, Arkansas, or were you in a big city, Arkansas, when you grew up? Tell us a bit about your background.
Well, my background, I started in Little Rock, Arkansas, and we were in the inner city. So it was interesting growing up in the inner city and having grandparents that were in the outskirts of the city. So we would take the kids from the inner city and take them out to the grandparents' house where they had farms and animals and things of that nature, which really isn't my thing. I am a concrete, air-conditioned, and small kind of guy. I love the city. You can put me down in Manhattan and I'm happy. You know, a lot of people say, I need to live in a place where I've got lots of land. I'm not that guy. Give me a condo in Tampa and I'm okay. But I grew up in Little Rock and had a great time there. Went to public schools, was educated there, went to public universities as well. And some people give public universities and schools a bad name, but it's about what you really wanted. I wanted more, so it was up to me to really striving to get more. I had a blessed family, a deeply religious family. My grandfather was a pastor. I played drums as a kid in his church, and it was just a matter of how bad do you want it and what are you going to do to get it.
So tell us, your grandfather pastored, what kind of church did he pastor?
It was a Baptist church.
Baptist church, wow. And then in Little Rock, obviously you grew up in that same tradition in the Baptist church as well. So in your home growing up, tell us a bit about how many kids, what was the religious environment like? Was there difficulties? Were you the first, second, third? Was there rivalry? Was there discord? Was there strife? We all have that in our families, but we just want to hear from your story, having walked the talk all these years. Yeah.
Well, for us, it was all of those things. We are from a large family. Both of my parents have 9 siblings apiece.
Wow.
And I'm number 2 of a dozen.
Wow.
And the dozen counts for my parents split up after I was born and both remarried and had more children. And my stepfather came in with 3 children. So I just count everybody. So that's where we come. But I'm number 2 of this group. But I'm the only one that has really, really stayed true to the course of our religious beliefs, because I'm the deacon at one of my churches, at our church now, and just making sure that the way we were brought up, the things that we were trained in, all of us still attend church, participate. So I can't say I'm the only one, but I'm the only one that has gone to the point of taking a position in one of our churches. Everyone else are just more or less, they're members, they attend, maybe they're usher, but I'm the only one that's taking a leadership role in a church.
So was there a word like blended family in the time when you were brought up? I mean, now it's common. I don't know if it was in the 60s maybe?
Yes, it was
60s, 70s?
early 70s, and that was never thought of.
Ah,
Once you became part of the family, you were part of the family. You're my brother, you're my sister, I love you, and that's who we are.
wow.
I always say bloodlines make you relative, but the fellowship makes you family.
Family.
And
Wow.
when we fellowship together, it's all family, it's all love.
Wow. So tell us about your parents. What career paths did they pursue? Obviously, you knew your father and your mother, so you can give us a little background to their career path. You told us your grandfather was a preacher, and somebody raised you in the country. So I'm thinking, were your parents farmers, or were they other things?
Totally opposite.
Okay.
The only time we went to my grandparents' farms was on the weekends, which was more than enough. And I was thankful that I played baseball so that I didn't have to go every weekend because it just didn't stick. But my mom was originally a school teacher, but
Oh, wow.
she started as a school teacher, but as she got remarried and had more children, it was easier for her and more beneficial for us for her to work in Kmart. So she became a manager in Kmart because
Oh, wow.
she made more money than a school teacher. And my dad, Southside Chicago guy, working in a steel mill. And he did that up until the last, I'd say 8 or 9 years. And he's finally retired. And
Wow.
he has a concrete business where we do have 18 families that work for us. And they do
In
land
Chicago?
in Southside Chicago. Do
Wow.
landscaping, concrete work, that type of thing. So
That's awesome.
he's always done that. And it's interesting. He has 4 sons. And out of the 4 sons, none of us want to go back and run that business.
I'm impressed that he's had a second career. You know, this is
Mhm.
kind of a second career. So you never went to Southside Chicago. You never moved up there. You never transitioned from Arkansas to Chicago
No,
as a young man.
I spent lots of Thanksgivings, Easters, and Christmases up there, but I never actually lived there. I lived in the north side of Chicago when I worked for TAP Pharmaceuticals many years ago. But the south side, but when I go, I spend maybe 2 weeks, so I feel like I'm at home. So my older brother and I, we had 2 homes. So it
Wow.
was beautiful. When we go there, we're at home. When we're in Little Rock, we're at home. It just didn't matter.
Was there a difference in both cities, cultures, environments? Some people say the South, the North, the Midwest. You are an American, so you can tell us. If I said something, they'll say I was biased. But what do you think? Is there a Southern flavor different from a Midwest flavor, different from a Northeast flavor, different from a Pacific, South, Northwest, South, what I call is East, West, Western flavor? You know, America has so many demographics and regional entities now.
Hmm.
And people make this thing about, is the South different from the rest of the United States?
In certain parts, it's different, and it really depends on the individual.
Wow.
What I learned is there are a lot of people from the South that moved to the North
To the North.
2 or 3 generations ago, and they took some of those same teachings and learnings with them at that point. But there is some cultural differences within the region. In my travels over the last decade or so, I found that people in the West seem to be a little bit more laid back. People in the east part of the country seem to be a little colder, a little rougher, because just the climate is colder. So you don't have time to be as pleasant as you would be in the South. Things aren't as laid back. Not that there aren't nice people, just the culture is just different.
And in the South?
The South is just laid back. Everyone's relaxed. Most of us aren't in a hurry because we'll be here tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Because in the North, in the Northeast, if you don't get it now, it might not be there for you tomorrow. But in the South, we're like, oh, we can put that lemonade over there. It'll be there tomorrow when I get ready.
Yeah, I trained in New York, and you know, you see people coming out running after a taxi. You know,
Yes.
like, let me get. I'm like, is there a war going on?
Everyone in the Northeast is hairy.
Here, you never see people running after taxis. You know?
We'll get the next one. and that's just the mindset of living in the South. It's warmer. The climate is better. Oftentimes you're running because you're just so cold, physically cold, that you want to get out of the winter.
Out of the winter.
So
right.
what can I do to get to my next thing so that I can get back to where it's warm? I worked in the Northeast for a while in New York,
Oh,
and actually loved Manhattan. But what I learned is people don't have time for it because they're just physically cold,
cold.
and it turns their attitudes colder. Because people are a lot meaner in the cold than they are in the summertime. If you see, have you seen the people in the beach down in the South?
Very
They're
relaxed.
laid back and relaxed, having a good time. But if you, it's cold, the wind's
You're
whipping around.
running.
Get me in this taxi so I can get out of this weather.
Yeah.
Because I got to get everything done. Just don't speak to me. Don't slow me down because my mind is fixed on it's New York. I got to get it now.
Okay, now, yeah. Well, tell us about your brothers and sisters. We want to learn from Kevin Noble. A lot of my viewers have families that are blended,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they didn't turn out, with the joy of the Lord, and maybe there was some rivalries or discord or strife as a result of that. You said 12 of you, so that's a lot. So I'm just curious, your mom is an illustrious woman, a school teacher, your dad, a steel worker who owns his own business. These are what we call the American dream, literally. So it's interesting. I would like to know, how did 12 of you turn out? And I understand that some of you were from your stepfather as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you might want to give us those dimensions of that. Yeah.
Well, the five older of us, all of us have college degrees and master's degrees.
Oh, wow.
Because it was instilled in us from our grandparents to get educated.
Wow.
But as our grandparents got older and our younger siblings didn't spend as much time with them, they didn't attend school as much. It wasn't as important because I was told by one of my younger siblings, well, I don't want to go to school as long as you did. I was actually in school for 6.5 years. I have an associate degree in electronics. I have a bachelor's degree in radio, TV, and film with a minor in music. And I also have a master's degree, MBA, with an emphasis on public health.
Wow.
And the whole entire time I was there for 6.5 years, and I didn't pay 1 cent for any of them.
Because you had a baseball
I had
scholarship.
baseball scholarship, or I played music, or I just worked and paid my own way.
Wow.
So I didn't owe the college anything, and I never had student loans.
Oh, my goodness.
And
Awesome.
a lot of my siblings, most of them, they're working in education. I have a sister that's a pathologist. I have a brother that's a finance guy. A brother that's in English. Another sister that's in math, and then one sister that she's over the cafeteria services
Wow.
for the district.
Cool. That's awesome. Did the segregation in those days affect you growing up in any way?
That's a very interesting question because I'm old enough to remember that in my first grade year, that's when we started in Little Rock busing the African American kids to the schools in the predominantly white neighborhoods and vice versa. My older brother went to school in the neighborhood the year before, and then we were bused to different schools where we didn't know anybody and very few people looked like us, where there was lots of separation. I personally was told there were certain things that I couldn't do because of the way I looked. As a 6-year-old kid, I didn't know what that meant.
Of course.
I just followed the rules. And then as I've gotten older, I look back on that and I say, wow, now I understand what they were trying to do. Because there were so many times I personally was told, there's no way you can be done with your homework. There's no way. Based on where you live, you can be done. Or I must be cheating. Now, I'm the first one to be finished. So how am I cheating on my test when I've completed it before anyone else? So a lot of those things came to pass, and so I actually felt like I was being separated from everyone else. And in my classes, there was only one other person that looked like me. There was no one else. So
In elementary.
in elementary school, so when we got to 7th grade, where all that time North Little Rock, all the 7th grade kids went to school together. It was only 7th grade, everybody was together. I thought I was dumb because I wasn't in class with any of my people in my neighborhood. So I worked my butt off to get back in those classes, so maybe I can get better grades. And then about halfway done, they said I have to go to a meeting, and they said, you're in honor society. I had no clue what that was we didn't talk about that at our home. But all I knew is that I needed to work hard and make a good grade so that I can get back in with my friends, not knowing that I was separated against.
Wow. So was there in your grandfather's church, did they have a mixed congregation?
No.
You weren't exposed to, I'm sure you saw Caucasians in the neighborhood or somewhere.
Very few in our neighborhood.
Okay.
I only saw them at school and when I played baseball.
And baseball was in high school.
I've played baseball since I was 9 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so that's my question. You grew up in Arkansas, which I think is about maybe 70% Caucasian, 30% white.
Mm-hmm.
and you had very little exposure to the
If it wasn't in
opposite
school,
race.
wasn't in school. We had sometimes at the Boys and Girls Club at the YMCA.
Right.
You know, older white guys that were really great to me. That really helped me out growing up immensely. Helped to keep me out of trouble, keep me away from, you know, we had gangs and all that stuff. Everyone's got that. But to keep me on the straight and narrow, I had someone else watching out for me when I was there. So I spent lots of times in those institutions.
Wow. And as a baseball player, obviously you attracted a lot of attention.
Yes.
You know, maybe you were, I don't know how many Caucasian, but maybe you were one of the fewer black African American in high school. So how did you, why I said that is because you may be the attention of Caucasian females, you know, coaches. So you have to at least be able to interact with the opposite race successfully. So basically, I'm trying to say here, if you met a female who was from another race, you had to be able to relate with her without prejudice or racial bias. So growing up in a predominantly African American environment, did you come into this mixture of the schools with any bias or prejudice, or how did you handle that? Especially as a baseball player, you were looked up as a model, as a status symbol, as, you know, you were given the pedestal in high school.
Well, for us, our parents never taught that.
Okay.
And our parents never taught hate in any way.
Awesome.
They had, you know, they'd make comments, and my aunts and uncles would come by, and they would all make comments. But we were always taught, treat people like they're people. And you should treat people the way you want to be treated. Because one thing we learned, and our mom really drove this home, it's not how people treat you, it's how you treat people that you're going to be responsible for.
Right.
And one thing that I found, knowing that my siblings work in education, this statement is true. When we were going to school, our parents would show up. If there was a problem, the first thing they would do is ask us, what did you do? Before I go in and start talking to these other people, I want to know what you did.
What you did.
Because that's what you're responsible for.
Right.
Nowadays, parents walk in, the first thing they ask, what did you do to my child?
My child, right.
And that level of discipline is what helped me get to where I was supposed to be, because I knew at the end of the day, I'm going to be responsible for my actions. And someone's going to ask, what did I do?
Wow. So your mom and dad and your granddad instilled that in you.
Yes.
So that's pretty phenomenal. So give us this trajectory. You went from, am I correct, a little college to the University of Arkansas. Is that true? So you started off with, what's the name of the college? You started with your associate's degree.
It was called Southern, and it was just associate's degree in electrical engineering.
Okay.
And after getting that, it was an awful experience.
Right.
I mean, I only had an associate degree, but that was more than some of the guys that worked for the firm, my first firm. They were meaner, older white gentlemen that just didn't want to see us coming in there. And it was me and an Asian American young man and a female. And none of us are doing anything of engineering anymore, ever. It was awful. My mom told me, she said, I don't like the person you have to become to do that job. You're normally a happier person. So you might want to go back to school and get a degree in something fun.
Wow. She's very practical.
Yes. And so I went back to the University of Arkansas Little Rock, walked onto the baseball team there, and started working in mass communication. And it became a fit.
3 years?
Yep. I did 3 years and got my bachelor's degree there, and I played drums, so I played in the symphony. You know, so I did music because growing up, I played sports and played music. Those were the only electives we had.
Did you become a Razorbacks fan or no?
Not necessarily a Razorback fan.
Okay.
I don't hate them, but like the game is on now, and I'm talking to you, and I could care less.
And then you went back to the same university for master's in business administration?
Yes.
Okay. How was that experience? That was a 1 or 2 year program?
It was a 2-year program.
Okay.
Honestly, graduate school was more easier to me than undergrad.
Wow.
Because I was a lot older at that point, and I was more focused. I walked in and said, you know what, I got 2 years, I'm going to get this done. And I put my head down and just got it done.
Did you pay for it, or you got a scholarship? Or because a lot of my viewers are like, I can't afford a master's, it's expensive, I can't. So how did you, because you were making a career change at that point, right?
Well, I was in pharmaceutical sales at that point, and I found out that my company would pay for us to get a master's degree.
Oh, wow.
I didn't need one for my job, but all of my friends, we have this, we call it a supper club. It's 5 couples, we meet once a month, and we have dinner, and we cure the world's problems over a meal and a beverage.
Really?
And we've been doing this for 20-something years, but everyone in the supper club had a master's degree but me.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, I can't go out like this. So I go back to school to get a master's degree because everyone else had one.
Wow,
And
wow.
it ended up benefiting me in business because I became a manager.
Okay.
And in the interviewing process, I was told, well, I'm a little more partial to guys that go back to school and get a master's degree. And I was like, keep reading.
Oh,
They're
really?
like, oh, you did too? I said, yes, I did.
So you paid out of pocket.
I paid a
Oh,
very
the
little.
company
my
paid for the
company paid
masters.
for it. And lots of times when people say they can't afford it, you can't afford it. It's a matter of what you want to do. See, people don't want to sacrifice. Everybody wants to show up and everything's green and they're going to be the next Mark Zuckerberg. But they'll get a loan to get a car. They'll get a loan to pay for a wedding, but they won't get a loan for their education. The education will last longer than all those things combined. Now, preferably, you want your relationship to last, your marriage to last, of course. But it's all in what you want to sacrifice for.
Right.
And it was more important to me to make sure that I secure that education. Because one thing they can't take from me, and one thing they can't exclude me from as well. In a lots of companies, especially in my current business, if you don't have a bachelor's degree, your resume is never even seen. They don't care. Because the level of things that we have to train you with is going to be at a bachelor's level. Right. So we just know that you can be taught. And this proves to us that you can. So it all depends on what you want to sacrifice. Nothing is free. Salvation isn't free. It came with a cost.
That's right.
So decide what you're willing to sacrifice for what you want. I was willing to make that sacrifice, and I've been blessed immensely for it.
Tell me, you did a master's in MBA with concentration in public health.
Yes.
Was there a reason for that?
Well, I was reading the tea leaves and said, if something happens in my pharmaceutical career, what would I want to do? I'm one of those people that I don't have these really great hobbies where people, you know what, I'm going to retire in 3 years and I'm going to do whatever. I don't have that because I'm doing everything that I love to do right now. I have nothing to retire to do. So if something happened in our current industry, where could I make an impact on people? And I thought working in public health, local health departments, getting communities together, especially communities of disparity, discussing with them clinical trials, getting vaccinated, what type of medications they're on, working with that aspect, then I'm working with the community and using my degree at the same time.
So this COVID pandemic was like your home ground zero for you, where you could see what people were misinformation and all that.
Oh, it was beautiful. And a lot of my friends, and one of my siblings, my little brother, they're like, I'm not going to take the vaccine. And I'm like, why not? I said, all the medical people that I've discussed it with said, take it. And then they would find these video clips on YouTube from someone with a PhD in underwater basket weaving to say, well, we're not going to take it because all this information. And I had to tell one of my friends with a PhD, I said, your PhD only covers one particular subject that has absolutely nothing to do with science. So that has no more weight than I do. Right. So you can't say, well, I have a PhD, so no. If we're not talking about your subject matter, it doesn't matter. Right. So I told them, stop sending me these videos of these people with PhDs that have no clue. If you don't want to take the vaccine, don't take it.
Don't take it.
But you can't come to my house without a mask.
Right, and stop misinforming the public.
Exactly.
Wow. So give us a little background on your experience in media and now your experience in pharmaceuticals. How did you experience the media industry? What did you love about it? And then now you moved on to pharmaceuticals. Tell us a bit about that transition, because it's kind of like a 360,
It's a total 180. The media, I love doing it because you're capturing something that's happening now. Being a sports guy, I liked going out to sporting events, shooting sporting events, coming back, telling the story. I'm a storyteller. That's what we do. Well, it just wasn't financially beneficial. And my partner, he was a weekend sports anchor, and I'm the weekend sports director. I'm sitting in the back, okay, go to camera 2, go to camera 3. His wife is working part-time for a pharmaceutical company, making more money than we are, and she's off on nights and weekends. She's coming up there on Saturday bringing him lunch, and we're sitting there in Arkansas, Saturday in June. You're covering like girls softball. There's nothing to cover, So you're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs. And so he got out and got into pharmaceutical sales, and he encouraged me to take a look at it. And our lead sports guy, Mr. Tucker, he was like, Kevin, that's a great opportunity. You can make a great living, and you can afford to go to these sporting events and not have to work them. Because it's a lot of work lugging your cameras and your gear to a game and then hoping a football player doesn't run over there and tackle it, or or you get hit by a basketball or something, So it was that, but I enjoy doing it, and to this day I do it at my church.
Right.
I'm one of the directors of our media broadcast. We broadcast, all over the world on YouTube, St. Mark Baptist Church, plug for our church. But I enjoy doing it, and then to see people's eyes when you can take their story, put it together, and then share with someone else and be unbiased. Transitioning over to pharmaceuticals, it was a direct link to me actually helping people, because by going to my prescribers, sharing the data of my product, and encouraging them to use it for those patients with that disease was rewarding, because I got to see personally, because I started out selling Claritin. Well, I'm a severe allergy sufferer. I was taking 2 shots a week, in each arm, and I don't know how I played baseball. I guess I was just snotting and crying the whole time. But then seeing that impact on people by taking them the samples, seeing the doctor giving them a prescription, seeing the patients on the therapy, and then seeing them get better. So I felt as if I had a direct link to actually helping more people. Now, we were told that we were in media, we were helping people. I said, yeah, we're just telling a story that we got from the AP wire. But this is a direct link to people's health and their happiness.
Wow.
And I've been doing it for over 24 years now, and don't want to do anything else.
Awesome. When we come back, we're going to talk about, should you pursue your passion, or should you pursue pulling people out of problems? Because this is a debate that has gone on for decades. Some people want to pursue their passion. I just want to write poems, and I just want to write songs, and I just want to write journals, and nobody's paying for those, and the person is like, I'm just pursuing my passion. And here we have Mr. Kevin Noble telling us that his passion, he loved it. He loved the media industry, but he was not paying his bills. So, and then he went to an industry where he was pulling people out of problems, getting them help they needed. And that pulling out of their problems brought him financial benefits. So the question is this: what is more likely to pay your bills? Is it your passion, or is it pulling people out of problems? We're going to talk about this on the next show with Kevin Noble, MBA, drug rep, ex-media director on a TV station in Arkansas, has a associate's degree in engineering, multiple talented individual. You would love to hear his story. And don't forget, you can join us every last Friday of the month for Holy Ghost Night. We're going to be in Oyo Hotel on November 18th. This is the Friday before Thanksgiving, November 18th at the Oyo Hotel on I-165. It's Holy Ghost Night, Friday night. I'll be ministering. My wife will be ministering. We'll have guest ministers, and it's going to be themed the cleft of the rock. We want to get people to understand that the cleft of the rock is where their deliverance and their salvation lies. Write to us, P.O. Box 550, West Monroe 71294. If you want to send a check, write it to Faith and Power Ministries. We'll be delighted for the support. Look forward to seeing you on the next show. Don't forget, Jesus is Lord. God bless you. Awesome.